Coaches, we are back. And in our first video of this offseason, we're going to take a second, recap our entire season. We had an entire program, 8U through 14U, running air raid with some really amazing results. We're going to get some video clips for you, some stats for you, and we're going to do it all right after this. All right, great. Thanks for sticking around. I want to make sure for all you new whistle.com members and all you new viewers on this YouTube account that you know our whole goal has always been to enable coaches to teach the spread game, air raid obviously in particular. It's really easy to do if you follow these steps that you can find on these videos. And also now our goal is to start enabling players. We really found some really interesting ideas out there, how we can enable these players to pick up the spread game that much quicker outside of practice. So we're excited to talk about that. So with that, please, if you haven't before, if you're new to these channels, take a second, subscribe, take a second, hit the bell notification below. And the last thing I wanted to mention, I am looking to start a QB council on whistle.com. There's a few things that I really want to talk to you guys about and get your opinion on and exchange ideas about. How do we enable these quarterbacks that we have and help them understand the concepts, the slow pre-snap process of understanding what they're looking at, then the post-snap, decision-making under pressure. It is a hard job to do. So I have some ideas of what we can do. I want to hear your ideas. We're going to break it down to a science together. And spoiler alert, even be working on building some really cool software that can help do just that together. So anyway, go to whistle.com, find the QB Council tab if you want to be a part of that. Now that I've had a few months to kind of decompress after the season, I got to be honest, I wasn't ready just to dive right into the film and break down the whole season and do all those things right after the season. I needed to decompress a little bit, excited and ready to get back into it and re-energized by a lot of you coaches out there. Hit me up on the coaching community asking for, ways that we can enable these players. And so I've spent the last few months kind of immersing myself in different technologies and trying to find different ways, virtual reality, augmented reality, mobile applications, really trying to find a way to use whatever technology is available to try to enable not only coaches, but players as well. These players need to absorb what we're trying to teach. And sometimes you don't have an off season to coach that in youth football and middle school football. You might be lucky enough to have your kids year round, but for the majority of us, that's just not the case. And so, like I said, I've been kind of immersing myself in VR. And I know what you guys are thinking when you hear VR. This is kind of what you're thinking. I swear it's been more along the lines of these type of applications where they're actually trying to get real reps and see it from the quarterback's point of view. These quarterbacks, whether they're starters or backups, need to understand how to use these technologies, regardless as if they're starting or not. Now, I will say, VR is pretty fun. I found myself at the poker table shooting guns with people from around the world. I even created my own football facility in Horizon's world. So if you guys are on Oculus and Horizon Worlds, go check out my football little facility. It's pretty cool, actually. There's a track, there's weights over there for powerlifting. Love my little application here. And the coolest thing about it is that I've created a replica of the precision passing challenge that you see at the Pro Bowl that these quarterbacks do. So it's a lot of fun, go in there, hit some targets, get some points, and see where you stack up. We could actually all go in there together and chat and hang out in the virtual space in my little virtual football facility. For me, I've always enjoyed learning new technologies and kind of seeing what's out there in the world so I can stay current, number one, understand what the kids are doing, and last of all, and most importantly, if there's a way to enable these players and coaches to be able to learn any of these things, whether it's air raid or whatever it is, I want to be someone that that investigates and puts it out there for you guys. So appreciate it. Look at the show notes. If you're on Oculus, come check out my world. Just as a quick recap before we get into the cut-ups, Ceremone Valley T-Birds, we are in the Bay Area in Northern California, about 45 minutes east of San Francisco. It is competitive youth football out here. Youth and middle school football does not attack, so it's more club-minded, but it's very competitive. Our program has always fed major programs like De La Salle. You guys have probably heard of that. Ceremone Valley, Monte Vista. But really, from year to year, we feed probably 6 or more high schools at any given year. Running Air Raid has brought in talent from other parts of the Bay Area because we still are one of the only programs running a true spread system. And now we run it at every level. One of the proudest things being the AD of this program has gotten to unify the offense at all the levels. That has not been done before. Typically we have coaches, whatever coach we're lucky enough to get at any of these levels, they just teach what they know, and we've always been okay with that, and it's never been an issue. But obviously, with me being so heavy into air raid and wanting to prove so badly that these coaches, any coach can coach it if you take the time to learn it and absorb it. And so I'm just extremely excited that we were able to, at least for 1 year, get air raid running at every single level with some really cool and fun success. And most importantly, the kids absolutely loved doing it at every level. They were just ecstatic. The gameplay, just so you know, when you see these stats, obviously it's not like high school where they get 12-minute quarters. The younger kids get 8-minute quarters. The older kids get 10-minute quarters here in our program and in our leagues. We do adhere to a minimum play rules league. So, depending on how many kids you have on your roster for any given day, usually the minimum plays range from 6 plays mandatory to 12 plays if you have a smaller roster. And that is a factor. I mean, there's absolutely a factor trying to figure out how to get everyone plays and stay competitive and win games, like we all, strive to do. So it is definitely a factor. And then the last factor, since we are such a passing team and program, if you have a 21-point lead, not only do your starters have to come out, I think that's pretty standard, but also you cannot throw, which has really been something that's frustrated me because we are a passing team. And if you're a passing team, you have to set up your practices a certain way to find success. And so our backup quarterbacks at every level, they practice hard, they work hard. And when they come into a game, they don't get to utilize what they've been learning in practice. They don't get a throw. They have to just kind of turn and hand the ball off. So that's kind of been a frustrating ideal that I'm trying to get across to the powers that be. But unfortunately, I was not able to change that before this season. So the first thing we'll talk about is junior varsity, which is the 12U team. They actually put up more passing yards than the varsity team, over 1,600 passing yards, 166 yards per game passing, and 22 touchdowns. Running game, not too shabby at all, over 1,200 yards rushing and 121 yards rushing per game, and 26 touchdowns on the ground. So, that's all good and great, but here's really the numbers that we really care about, right? How many players carried the ball? They had 11 different players carry the ball. They had 10 different players with receptions. They scored a crazy number, 12U team, 51 touchdowns. And the really cool stat is they had 3 receivers that were over 300 yards. And that is pretty mind-blowing for a 7th grade team, I must say. Okay, so let's move on to our varsity squad. All right, so this is 14U 8th grade, and as you can see, we actually had more rushing yards than passing yards. And we talk about it on the Middle School Air Raid Facebook channel. If you're not a member there, go to Middle School Air Raid in Facebook. You find our group. But we talk about, what do you do when you have a running back that is the dude, but you're a passing team? And the answer always, for me, is always like, you feed that guy. And that was no different. This kid, Jaden Jefferson, amazing player. That's number 11 on your screen right now. And we did a great job passing as well. We did have to split it between two quarterbacks. We had a little bit of injuries there, but 14, 13-year-old quarterbacks coming in, running air raid, still a pretty formidable year passing the ball as well. And so, again, the stats that we really care about, we had 16 players carry the ball this year. We had 10 players with receptions. We scored 50 touchdowns and ended up total yards pretty darn good at over 3,100. And one thing that I'm very proud about is we had 5 different receivers with over 100 yards receiving on a season to be able to spread the ball around that much, whether it's on the ground or passing. And that is the name of the game, getting these kids ready for high school. And I know that our team is more than prepared to do just that. All right. So again, the middle school program, that's where we really want to find success and really want to kind of use data to see if we are having success. So as you can see, they're very comparable. The JV, the junior varsity, and the varsity teams, about 3,000 yards each total, about 50 touchdowns each. So between the two, within our middle school program, 27 players carried the ball, 19 players had receptions, over 100 touchdowns, and almost 6,000 yards worth of total offense. And honestly, 11 kids with 100 yards receiving. Man, if that isn't proof that any level can do it, but especially middle school, these kids, for the most part, it was their first year in air raid, and they were able to jump in and do just that. All right, so typical receiver stats for the 8th grade. This was our leading receiver, his stats. And then here is our running back. Again, I'm just going to pause here for a second. This kid, Jaden Jefferson, he has a bright future. I'll just leave it at that. 1,300 yards rushing in a youth middle school season, literally 16 yards per carry. Scored 25 touchdowns rushing, 3 receiving. He had a couple punt returns, couple kick returns. I mean, 32 touchdowns in a season. I don't care what level of football you are. That's impressive. And again, we play in a very talent-rich and competitive Bay Area football scene here. And so that kid should be extremely proud of what he was able to accomplish this year. And I can't wait to watch him in high school. We're going to show all of the concepts that we run throughout all the programs. We're just not going to show all the cut-ups. Again, I will upload those and do separate videos on those so you guys can just look at those separately for each level that you're interested in. Okay, so here we go. 8U doesn't have GT counter. We just call it off tackle, and we do just that. But they do run the same formations. We call it the same formations. They do use the same letters for the players, what positions they are in. So you look at the 10U, we start pulling just one guard. They don't do guard tackle, but they do the guard pull. And typically they do it, but they're 10 years old, so not every time, but that's their off tackle play for the 10U level. Now at the 12U level, yes, we do go full GT counter. And this team, as you saw, had an amazing season running the ball. They had a couple really good running backs that they can pass it around to, and they run every formation that our varsity team runs. So you can see it out of 2 backs, you can see it out of open, you can see it with motion out of open. They run early and late, and as you can see, we just have a plethora of talent at every level, and they run it with push motion. Now this is a little Q counter. We didn't actually do this at varsity, but our JV coordinator put this in. Super great play. Quarterback counter off of a little salt and pepper action. And they had a couple of really good quarterbacks at that level that could do these type of things. So gotta love a little quarterback GT. Okay, so here is the 14U and your first glimpse at Jaden. And obviously, we run this out of every formation. We really pride ourselves on running GT counter a million different ways. We do mirror kind of Oklahoma's power raid, and really model ourselves after Oklahoma. I guess it's going to be USC's now, now that Lincoln Riley moved on. But essentially, we want to run GT counter since it's our main running play as many different ways. So you can see it in these clips so far out of open, early and late with just the running back offset. We did get into a situation where it got to be pretty obvious that if Jaden was to one side of the quarterback, um, that the team, well, actually one team set three linemen to the opposite side of the ball, and so as you can see here on the clip that's coming up, we do it from the pistol formation and do an open direct handoff where the quarterback can just turn and hand off to the counter side. We do it out of pistol where there's a reverse pivot, so we can kind of mess with the linebackers. We do it out of green formation where the H comes outside and tries to get up on a block, but he comes outside the tackles. You're going to see another play of that here coming up next. So again, the H comes outside the tackle and gets up on the linebacker and actually pulls the linebacker out of that hole. And then you'll see here we do it where the H crosses face. And we do that sometimes we got to pick up that backside D end who was free. We do it out of our black and brown heavy formations with a reverse pivot to the deep guy. We do it out of black and brown where we give it to the up back and give it to him on GT counter. We do it out of motions, right? We'll move motion across and counter back the other way. We'll do it with orbit motion out of our green and blue formations and counter back the other way. We do it out of a ton of things. Here it is again in orbit motion out of our two back green or blue formation. And it's it's hard not to show them all, guys. There are more. And now we added this out of our trips bunch formation. Stole this from the Niners, Shanahan and Debo Samuels, but it's pretty nasty. We get into a bunch trips look. I'll show it to you again here. A bunch trips look, and put Jaden in motion. So get the eyeballs going one way and then give it to that inside H back, countering back the other way. And it's pretty nasty. And it's the same for the line, and it's the same for everybody. It's just a matter of who's getting the ball and how many different ways we can run this at you. Okay, so that's exciting stuff. GT. Now, of course, every level that we have runs jet sweep. Here's the 8U under center running jet sweep. Obviously, they turn and hand it directly to the jet. Here again is another look at it. 8U jet sweep. And at that level, it's not always an outside run, but it's pretty deadly play. Now here it is at 10U. They're actually doing that out of the diamond formation, and absolutely they chose to hand off behind for whatever reason. You know, I'm not here to tell any coach that he has to do certain things certain ways. We all kind of share a playbook and talk about the formations and schemes before the season, but every coach can make this his own, and that's what I'm hoping a lot of you guys will do now that you have all this information out there. So here's the last one, jet sweep. Coming through and you know, at every level there's a kid that can just get out on jet sweep. So here it is from the 10Us, and they actually do a great job of doing a kind of a keeper off of that. They get people thinking that they're going jet sweep, and then they just run a kind of a counter QB counter off it. Okay, so here it is with the 12U team. They run it traditionally where they pitch the ball forward, like Varsity does. Love that concept of doing that, so the ball is dead if you do mess up. And yeah, so here it is again from open with a little move motion for the 12U side. And yeah, still on 12U. Now they do it out of late, and you know, if a quarterback thinks it's easier to just hand it directly and there's less to think about, yeah, we'll absolutely let them do that as well. All right, so here's jet sweep for the 14U team. We didn't use it as much this year as I had in the past, but very deadly play nonetheless. Always a great play, no matter what run plays you have, and it complements a lot of different things that we do. And as always, something that I think every air raid team should have in their playbook. You know, year to year, it just gets a little different. Okay, so let me just pause here because Varsity is the only one that runs power. And we do it in a way where we're pulling the front side guard or tackle. depending on the front. We do this because we see a lot of 5-man fronts and can't really afford pulling the backside guard, okay? So here's what a look at our power. We typically run this out of our black and brown formations. It's usually a situation where obviously we need to get some yards and run power downhill. And it's been a great play for us. We don't use it nearly as much as counter, but we have found some really cool applications like this. We can get into Wildcat. And anytime you have a player like we had this year with Jaden, and you let the quarterback run, you're adding an additional weapon, but also adding an additional blocker. So it's been pretty deadly. We did save this for the playoffs. I kind of wish I started doing this earlier in the season. But essentially, with a kid like that can run Wildcat and we can keep the power blocking, it's a pretty nasty play. Okay. Another thing that only Varsity ran was what we call paint, but is a running back draw. We only run this against a 4-man front or less, so we don't get a chance to run it very much. But when we do run it, it's actually pretty awesome play. And I just wish we saw more 4-man fronts so we can run it even more. But there's always open space for it. Also, run a quick pitch to kind of help. We get a lot with GT count, a lot of ends attacking, and so we like to do that. Now we do run, for all you triple options fan, and I'm a big triple option fan, we do run triple option where we can give it, where we can keep it, and then the quarterback keeps it. And then obviously we have it where they go through the 3 options and then just pitch it real quick. We don't rep it as much as I would like, but it's one of those things that's nice to have. And at the JV level, they ran, obviously, speed option isn't triple option, but it's a version of it. And speed option, if you can install it, it's a nice complement to any spread team, keeping the defense honest. All right. So of course we have quick screens at every level. That is a staple of any air raid team. So you can see Larry and Roger, we all call it the same thing at 8U. I don't know why I crack up so much when I see 8-year-olds. And that quarterback actually is 7. So he's got another year or 2 in this lower division. And then Larry Roger Fox is always a deadly play because we run so many quick screens. They start to cheat up for that. Okay, so here is the 10U, Larry and Roger, and it's, of course, getting your players out in space is the name of the game. And of course, our quick bubble type screens do just that. That was a dangerous one, but yeah, I mean, essentially, our best players are out there in space against DBs, and that's always going to be a good situation when that happens. And so here's 12U getting after it. They run it out of open, late, early, all those things. And then here's their screen and go, Larry, Roger, Fox. All right, so here's 14U. We ran this to death, of course. I'm a big proponent of running quick screens as much as possible. Coach Salas said one time to me, and it really hit home, if you leave the game and you haven't thrown and you feel like you haven't thrown enough screens, then that's a problem, and you probably haven't. So I really took that to heart. Okay, we do it with the back pedal technique. We do it with the bubble technique. We let the receivers, whatever they really are comfortable with, we let them decide. Obviously, they just need to make sure the quarterback knows what to expect when they are doing the different types. And then you get this weird one. I don't know what that is, but either way, whatever's comfortable, let's just get the ball out and get out to the races and try not to get caught. And here's our screen and go here, Larry, Roger, Fox. So here you go. Outside screen, now screens to the outside receivers. We call it Lucy and Rose. And again, at every level, we call it that. Now, only JV and Varsity broke it out this year. But again, if you can get the ball out there quick enough, good things will happen. And so here's the Varsity level, Lucy and Rose. This kid's an All-American water polo player, new to T-Birds this year. That was pretty great to see him. Here we go again, out there for a little Rose action. And this is where we will pull the linemen. And now between 12U and 14U, we ran the running back quick screen, right? Salt and pepper, put them in motion, or sometimes don't put them in motion, but basically get them out behind some blockers out in space. Especially if it's 3-on-2 out there, we'll put a running back in motion, get them out there, and let them go to work. And obviously, we teach blocking first for our receivers. Oh, this is actually 14U. And there goes Jaden, right? So here we go, salt and pepper. Again, anytime you can get a kid like that or any quality, running back in space with some receivers in front of them, good things will happen. And then here's the last one I'll show. Sometimes we call a bad play, and you got an athlete that'll make you look good. And Jaden definitely did that for me throughout the entire season. This kid is just ridiculous. Okay, so 14U, we did have a slow screen, Lexi and Roxy. Didn't run it too much, but we definitely probably should have run it more against some blitzing teams. Not too many teams wanted to blitz us. We do have a reputation to throw, so a lot of teams will try to sit back in coverage. All right, so fade out. Here's our first passing concept. This is fade out. Actually, this is the 10U team. Now here is the fade out. Traditionally, what I show on my channel for 12U. I think this might have been their most explosive play. It definitely was the most run play between all the levels. Well, maybe Larry and Roger, but fade out was extremely successful for the middle school programs, both 7th and 8th grade teams. It's just hard to cover all three of those guys at any given time. If everyone's running their routes hard, you can hit the outside go, you can hit the speed out, and obviously you can hit the little stick in the middle here. And so here we go with varsity, with the big boys. Again, definitely want to hit that fade, definitely want to snap it off and hit that quick stick, and definitely want to be able to hit that out route. That play is red zone play, the play is middle of the field play. It could be anywhere on the field. Y corner, obviously a staple for us at every level as well. Here's the 10U getting after it. They had a lot of success at the 10U level with this play. They did tend to roll out a little bit more and do it. But I think that helps with arm strength or whatever you need, or just finding time. Blocking, it continues to be something that needs to be a focal point for any air raid team. Pass protection, I should say. But if you get players that kind of understand what's going on and absorb it, you can make some really fun things happen for these kids and let them experience spread football, even at this young age of 10 and under. Pretty impressive group of kids. And we're, these kids, now that we have this air raid program year round, with my secondary company, Diablo Football, we can teach all of these kids, and they're in a passing league right now with just us running air raid. So these kids you're seeing at the younger levels are running fade out and corner and stick and mesh and cross all year round. So this kid, actually, he was just introduced to it this preseason. He came in this year, but now he's going to be in it year round. He's in my program now. This 12U quarterback's in the program year round, and he's did amazingly well for a first year player at this 12U level. So of course, fade or corner has always been a deadly play, and you can see just how it evolves and how easy it is for a quarterback to be able to read that on the fly, even if they haven't had too much practice before camp starts. Okay. Here's a couple more 12U wide corners. These guys are just in space making plays, as always. And then now we definitely got to find some where they sit down in zones, right? That's such a huge thing for these kids to be able to know how to do heading into high school. All right, so here's wide corner at the 14U level. Had some really great players. That Trishawn Wright, that receiver right there, and right here made some amazing grabs. had two solid quarterbacks at the varsity level, like I kind of alluded to, had some injuries there. So, it's not easy to run this offense as a quarterback with only half the season's worth of reps. So all that being considered, both of these quarterbacks did a great job, and excited to see where they take their high school careers. Hopefully they can get into a spread offense and continue throwing the ball. So here's a couple snags that we saw. Okay, so shallow or drive, we'll just kind of lump them together because JV ran drive more than actual open shallow. They just like the look out of it, out of 3x1 set, and they did a great job of running it and executing the shallow routes with that level. We ran it a lot out of two back with the running back coming open. For whatever reason, we didn't find an extreme amount of success running it traditionally with the open set this year. But we did find some success out of two back. I'll put all the clips. Y cross. So the JV 12U team did a great job with Y cross. I could not, with the quarterbacks changing, it is an advanced play, and I don't start calling that play or calling mesh until later in the season. And with two quarterbacks kind of playing half the season each, we couldn't really get Y cross going for us at the varsity level this year, which was unfortunate. I really wanted to add that play this year. Okay, so here's mesh at the 10U level. We run it the same, just the level of the depth of the speed outs is a little different at the 10U level, but at 14U, we really primarily used it in the red zone. And again, I still have yet to kind of come down and hit the mesh. We do that; those outs are always so open that that there really is no reason to come down and check down to the mesh, even though I want that to happen. And of course, 4 verts, right? 8U team. Honestly, 8U had a ton of yards with 4 verticals. There was one game that they almost threw for 300 yards, like no BS, against this team. Actually, this is the team that won the championship at that level, the team in the white and maroon. But this was a fun game to watch because both teams are really good, competed hard. They actually won, but I'm proud of our kids, man. They get to rear back and throw the ball, so the level of difficulty is there, even at the 8-year-old level. And just to watch them go play like they're big boys and air it out. I mean, it's so fun to watch 8-year-olds do it. And like I said, this quarterback's 7-year-old, so he's got a pretty bright future. His dad played college ball, so should be interesting to watch his journey as a little quarterback because he's same kid right here. Okay, so here's 10U, all verts. They are getting in at this age, starting to actually make reads on the safety and make reads on the corners. And sometimes they don't, but yeah, they sit. The receivers are understanding when they're capped with 2 eye safeties to sit in that zone between the linebacker and the safety, and the quarterbacks know that they can count on them being there. So I'm excited that even at that level, they can read 1 safety or 2 safety. And 12U, this is in the middle school level, 12U, 7th grader, 8th grade. Obviously all verts is a huge play for both these teams. And if you can get some quarterbacks that can understand it and read it and make this good decisions, this play is absolutely, as it's always been, pretty darn deadly in general. Then obviously, if we go 3x1, you can isolate and go after certain, players or certain schemes. So it's a great way to kind of make sure the coaches have ability to impact the game as well, kind of depending on what they see. So again, these aren't all the 12U clips. These are a lot of them. Hard to pick which ones to show, to be quite honest, but we will put all the cut-ups for all the levels of verts and all these plays in the upcoming videos that we'll be releasing here, probably 1 or 2 a week for the next month or 2. All right, so 1 high uncapped. We're running vertical routes right down the seams. We're reading it H to Y. That was the H. 3x1. basically with one safety, it's just almost impossible for those guys to cover one-on-one our receivers when they're in a dead sprint and know exactly where they're going. So another all verts play here. We do it out of open a lot. Really love to put that safety in conflict, and as long as the ball's not hanging up there, we can make it work for sure. All right, should be a couple more here. Another 3x1 dart over the middle. It's out of open again. And then a little ISO on the other. Okay, so I'm going to stop here real quick. In the last two clips, or the last two ways that we run it, I just wanted to just talk about real quick. So this is out of our green formation with the running back, the F from the backfield, releasing on a vertical route down the seam instead of him being on the line like in open. He will run out of the backfield. This is just a nice play by the quarterback to wait and be patient, and for the running back actually to get it in. And then this play we stole from Ole Miss. I'm not huge on taking plays that I find on the internet and installing it in the season, but it's a pretty nasty play. And look for a cut up film of this where I kind of explain all the routes. It's too much to talk about right now, but it's a pretty deadly play. And as you can see, people are running open on this play quite a bit on both sides of the field. Pretty nasty play that we stole again from Ole Miss. Here it is a second time. All right, so as you can see, we ran our entire offense, all the concepts that we talk about on this Air Raid channel at every level. Not everyone ran everything, but everyone ran the core plays, and everyone had success at every level. So again, just wanting to just implore everyone out there, you can run spread at the 8U, 10U, 12U, 14U level. It is possible. And in our area, I feel like I need to talk to the high school coaches too, because you guys can run spread too here. There's just so many high schools still pounding the ball. And it's unfortunate because these kids can handle it and they want to play that style of football. All right, so hope you enjoyed the recap. Please, again, subscribe, hit the notification bell. We're going to release 1 or 2 of these cut up videos a week, so you guys can get at every single level the cut ups for every single play that those teams run. So please subscribe. If you have coaches that are interested in running air raid or spread football at any level, send them a link to this channel, get them on whistle.com, and let's just continue the conversation and get it going.